So a lot of lessons in this episode of Academia, episode 2, My Hero Academia. I think for starters, one of the things is something that you kind of learn in life is a lot of the times when you meet your heroes, they aren't always what you expected them to be, because you have this ideology in your head of like, oh, this is the greatest motherfucker in the world, and you're just hype as hell. And then when you meet them, they can disappoint sometimes. And I think while All Might wasn't necessarily disappointing to Deku, in a sense, the words that he told him, because I guess he caught him in a rough time, because if he met All Might, 5 years ago prior to the accident, he probably would have still lived up to it, and he probably wouldn't have said the words that he told Deku in this episode. But I think there was development for 2 different people in this episode, maybe even 3, I would argue. Deku, because it was kind of like he was down, he was like, alright, fuck it, I'm just gonna quit, I'm not gonna have this dream of being a hero when I have no powers. And then also for All Might, because All Might, when he was at his lowest, he was just like, yo, just become a cop or something, like, a hero ain't for everybody. But then he realized, what the fuck am I saying? I'm kind of being like a hypocrite. So I definitely feel as though All Might also had development. And then Bakugo, you can kind of argue in a way that maybe he had development. Only time will tell, because he did learn a lesson at the end of the day. Look at this weak dork that I pick on and, treat him like a piece of shit. Ultimately came in rushing to save me, even though I didn't ask for it. And he kind of has that motif of like, the bad boy that doesn't want no help and he's an asshole. The Sasuke's out there. Before anybody jumps on my neck, everybody ain't like Sasuke. I'm just giving an example, right? Calm down. Calm down. And I mean, art and animation, absolutely gorgeous, especially in the scene of Deku rescuing Bakugo. Just looked amazing. And that's one of the best things that you can get out of a shorter anime, because they have a really nice budget. They can put everything into everything. And I mean, even the shading, I love when All Might is in his, big muscular form and shit like that, because they put it just like a comic book. It honestly looks straight up like a comic book when All Might goes in. And I mean, just this episode, again, it was really good development. And I ain't gonna lie, it touched on the heartstrings yet again when Deku was crying, which again, I don't know what it is about his voice that it's just something different from the typical shonen protagonists where their voice is really high pitched. His voice ain't too high pitched, and even though he's kind of like the Tsunayoshi Sawada from Hitman Reborn, like that, wimpy kind of character, it fits him better and makes him feel a little less wimpy when you're hearing his voice, that it still kind of sounds like a normal boy instead of like a, that high pitched shit. So I really appreciate that when he's crying there and everything, thinking about his mom and shit like that. Again, that's a lot of times like your environment. I think that's teaching another lesson. I feel as though this episode, academia, academics, lessons and shit like that, it taught a lot of lessons. Not everybody's gonna tell you what you need to hear at the time. If his mother would have told him back then, he probably would have felt a little bit better, but life and experiences change everything. His mother telling him, I'm sorry, and I think All Might really fit that role. Like, everything about this episode was just honestly almost perfect. I would say, again, this was a great episode. 9 out of 10 for this episode. It was like so many different things that you got out of it. I mean, for starters, building up more of Deku. Like, he was at first really doubting himself after hearing those words from All Might, and even kind of going through that experience with All Might. Not only did it connect him with a bond with somebody that he idolizes, but it also taught him something very valuable, and it's going to help him as a character grow. And the way they had the narration at the end of the episode, the lines that they said, kind of had me intrigued if they know more than even us manga readers know, because they had Deku saying, oh, by the way, this is the story of how I became the greatest hero. So is he truly going to become even greater than All Might at some point? I mean, the manga's still ongoing. We're only 80 something chapters in, and that's nowhere to be seen that Deku's going to be this great guy. But who knows? I guess maybe the studio might have more of an inclination, and I hope that's not any spoiler territory there of like, yeah, he's going to be the new All Might or some shit like that, or even greater, because it's like, this is how I become the greatest hero. It's like, I think they could have left that line out. But yeah, other than that, again, great episode, beautiful art, animation, gorgeous, the lessons, development, everything about it. Great episode, 9 out of 10. But let me know what you guys think. First of all, what do you think about Deku's character? What do you think about All Might? Kind of showcasing that All Might is vulnerable from, the attacks that he had 5 years ago. What do you think about Bakugo's character? Do you think that he's going to actually get some development from this and learn to appreciate Deku and kind of not always be an asshole to people just because they're weaker than him? And your overall thoughts. Loved it. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed anything about this video, make sure to drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk me on Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.